Ladies and gentlemen, we gather here today to unravel a quiet illusion, a trap so seductive that most fall into it gladly, mistaking it for truth. It is called motivation, that fleeting surge of inspiration we chase like children behind a drifting balloon. But let us pierce this illusion. Let us speak not of surface winds, but of the deeper currents beneath them. So I say to you, fall not into the motivation trap. Do not chase wind, instead descend. Look into your depths. Make meaning your compass, not mood. Let the darkness educate you. Let the stillness build you. Let the unseen roots nourish you until, one day, you do not rise because you are motivated, but because you have become what you once sought. Thank you. Motivation is often glorified as the driving force behind great achievement, as if it were the eternal fire that fuels transformation. But this is a misunderstanding. What we call motivation is not a fire, it is a spark. It is the glimmer that appears in a moment of inspiration after a powerful quote, a compelling video, or an emotional breakthrough. It stirs the surface, but it does not anchor itself in the deep, it flickers. It dazzles, but it fades, and the danger lies in believing that this spark is enough to sustain the journey. When you rely solely on motivation, your progress becomes conditional. You move forward only when you feel stirred, only when your emotions comply. But the inner work, the real, gritty process of becoming, demands constancy, not excitement. It asks you to show up on the days when nothing in you wants to. It asks you to act without applause, without reassurance, without the high of external energy. Motivation will vanish the moment pain arrives, the moment boredom sets in, the moment the goal loses its shine. And if you have not built something deeper than that spark, you will stop. The true fire, what actually sustains growth and change, is found not in fleeting feelings but in a decision. A quiet, often unglamorous choice to return again and again to the work, to the path, to yourself. You do not need constant sparks to become who you are meant to be. What you need is a reason that holds even in silence. A why that survives the dark. Let the spark come if it must. Let it ignite your awareness, but do not kneel before it. Do not wait for it to return before taking your next step. The fire that endures is not given, it is built. One honest day at a time. The part of you that craves motivation is not the deepest part. It is the outer shell, the carefully crafted mask that faces the world each day. This mask, known as the persona, is shaped by culture, by family, by the expectations of others. It is not false, but it is incomplete. It performs roles, chases success, and seeks applause. And for the persona, motivation is fuel, because its survival depends on staying relevant, admired, and in motion. But the soul does not share the persona's hunger. The soul does not care whether you are applauded or ignored, whether you win or fail by the world's standards. The soul speaks a different language. It craves meaning, not momentum. Depth, not display. It is moved not by external incentives but by inner alignment. And when you ignore this longing for meaning, when you silence it beneath layers of ambition and image, you begin to feel a strange hollowness, no matter how much you accomplish. Motivation is loud. It demands urgency. It flashes with urgency and fire, but the soul whispers, it waits. It does not shout over the noise of the world. It asks for honesty, for stillness, for presence. It does not want you to succeed in the eyes of others. It wants you to become real in your own. There comes a moment when the persona begins to crack, when motivation fades and exhaustion takes its place, when the outer show no longer satisfies the inner ache. In that moment, if you are willing, you will meet the soul, and it will not ask what you want to achieve. It will ask what you love, what you are willing to suffer for. What feels sacred, even if no one sees it. That is the true path, not the chase for motivation, but the journey toward meaning. Only when you stop performing and start listening, only when you descend beneath the surface of who you think you are, can you touch the mystery of who you truly are becoming. And in that depth, meaning will do what motivation never could, carry you through darkness, transform your wounds, and reveal the shape of your most authentic life, the part of you that undermines your motivation, the part that whispers you can't, that delays, distracts, sabotages, This is not just laziness or weakness. This is the shadow. It is the forgotten, repressed, and unloved portion of your psyche, cast aside because it didn't fit your image of who you were supposed to be. It carries your fears, your rage, your shame, your unmet needs. And though you may try to ignore it, it does not vanish. It waits, it watches. And when you strive towards something noble or ambitious, it often rises, not to destroy you, but to be seen. This is why motivation fails so often. You may begin with passion, goals, discipline, but then something inside quietly resists. You procrastinate, you self-sabotage, you quit, and you hate yourself for it. But that inner resistance is not your enemy. It is your wounded self asking to be acknowledged. You cannot bully the shadow into silence. You cannot shame it into submission. It doesn't respond to motivational slogans. It demands depth, not speed. The shadow is what kills surface-level motivation because it sees through the performance. It senses when you are chasing goals to avoid your pain or proving your worth because you secretly feel worthless. It resists because it knows that the path you're on is not yet whole. It has not yet integrated all of who you are. The shadow kills shallow motivation, but it does so to invite a more honest transformation. And when you turn toward the shadow, not to conquer it, but to converse with it, something profound begins. The sabotage gives way to wisdom. The resistance reveals the wound beneath it. The laziness becomes a signal, not a flaw. I am tired of wearing this mask. I am tired of striving for something that does not feed me. And in this dialogue, motivation deepens into something more powerful, into authenticity. True transformation happens when you no longer divide yourself into the good and the bad, the motivated and the broken. It happens when you can carry both the dreamer and the doubter, the warrior and the wounded child. You do not need to exile your darkness to pursue your light. In fact, you cannot have one without the other, so let the shadow speak. Let it interrupt your plans. Let it show you the parts of yourself that still ache for healing. It may disrupt your momentum, yes, but it will rebuild your foundation, not for a quick sprint, but for a deeper becoming. One that does not fade with mood or time. One that belongs not to who you wish to be, but to who you already are, whole, complex, and utterly human. The deeper self cannot be coaxed by the usual methods. It does not awaken to pressure, to rewards, to competition. It does not respond to shallow motivation because it does not live in the same world as your ambitions. It sleeps beneath the noise, beneath your plans, your goals, your deadlines. It is not interested in efficiency. It is not moved by productivity. It cannot be summoned by force. It waits. And it waits not because it is passive, but because it is sacred. The deeper self is ancient, symbolic, and enduring. It does not rush to meet you because it wants to see if you are willing to slow down enough to meet it. You cannot chase it through the mind. You must descend to the place where words begin to break, where time slows, where silence becomes language. And in that stillness, if you are sincere, the deeper self may rise, not like a jolt of adrenaline, but like a memory you didn't know you carried. This part of you doesn't seek motivation, it seeks meaning. It doesn't move for applause, it moves for alignment. When it stirs, you feel something different than excitement. You feel a pull, a call, an unexplainable knowing that you must walk a certain path, not because it is easy, not because it is impressive, but because it is yours. This is not a motivation that comes and goes. It is a summons. And to ignore it is to fracture yourself, to feel the slow ache of a life lived only at the surface. You cannot summon the deeper self by shouting affirmations or chasing more. You can only make yourself ready. You can clear space in your life, in your thoughts, in your breath. You can create stillness. You can listen. You can endure the discomfort of no longer distracting yourself. And then, quietly, without drama, it begins to rise. When it does, you will know. You will not feel the usual restlessness. You will feel anchored. You will not crave approval. You will feel initiated. The voice within you will not shout. It will whisper, and it will be enough. It will not push you to run. It will walk with you, And suddenly you will not be chasing motivation anymore. You will be following something far more sacred, something eternal, something that remembers who you were before the world told you who to be. Discipline is so often misunderstood. We reduce it to routine, to restriction, to the cold rigidity of willpower. We associate it with control, with punishment, with the denial of pleasure. But this is only how the surface self views it, the part of us obsessed with performance, obsessed with outcome. The truth is far more intimate. Discipline, at its core, is an act of devotion. It is not born from self-rejection, but from reverence. It is what happens when the deep mind commits to something sacred. There is a place within you that recognizes what is meaningful, even when it is difficult. This place does not seek comfort, it seeks wholeness. And when that part of you awakens, it does not ask for ease. It asks for integrity. It asks for repetition. It asks for the willingness to keep showing up, not because the world is watching, not because there is reward, but because something inside you has said yes to the journey. Discipline, in this sense, is not a cage. It is a container, a sacred space you return to daily, like a monk to the temple, like a soul to a ritual. It is how the deeper self takes form in the world. Without it, inspiration remains scattered, energy remains unfocused, and the sacred remains unmanifest. Discipline is the structure that allows the inner world to express itself in the outer one. This kind of discipline does not come from self-violence. It is not the voice that says, "You are not enough, do more." It is the voice that says, "You are becoming, stay with it." It is patient, not punishing. It understands that some days your strength will waver, your clarity will falter, and still it returns. Quietly, humbly, with devotion. And the more you walk this path, the more you begin to understand. Discipline is not about forcing yourself to do things. It is about aligning your life with what you love most deeply. It is about remembering your sacred task when everything around you tries to make you forget. It is about saying yes again and again, even when it would be easier to drift. The surface self wants quick results, visible success, immediate gratification. But the deep mind plays a longer game. It knows that the most important things in life, transformation, creation, healing, becoming, are not achieved through momentary bursts of motivation. They require rhythm. They require return. They require a kind of sacred stubbornness. This is the true nature of discipline, not the grit of the ego, but the devotion of the soul.